It's Barbara Grohr for Cape May Radio, and we are putting our spotlight today on Mr. Rick McCann, who has written a book called To If by Sea. Rick has 50 years of professional mariner experience. Besides the novel, he's written several articles in the marine trade publications. He's penned his own tour guide booklets for his personal sightseeing cruise business. And he has an article in Mystery and Suspense magazine.
Actually, it didn't make the actual magazine, but it's on their website.
Okay. Mystery and Suspense magazine. He sailed the world for the U.S. Navy, and he's been a deep sea merchant ship captain, or?
Actually, I was just a seaman at that time.
Okay, a seaman at the time.
Yeah.
Before returning to the Cape May area, and he sails for the Cape May Lewis Ferry, where he earned his, I was impressed by this title, Master License for Unlimited Tonnage Ships for Great Lakes and Inland Waters. That's one thing when reading the book, I learned a lot about the levels of education that you have to have for going out to sea there. And that's kind of relief as a possible passenger. It's nice to know that there's a lot of education going on. We're going to talk about that for a second.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of schooling involved. There's a lot of years spent doing sea time that you have to have before you're even allowed to approach the test for the next level.
Right.
And that all starts right after the entry program. I mean, you can go in as an ordinary seaman, knowing nothing about the sea life, as long as you can get hired by somebody and work your way all the way up to master. It's possible, it's doable. It's a lot harder now than it used to be because of all the schooling that is involved. You have to go to a lot of different schools for your STCW certificate, which is required deep sea. It's required by the IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization that the United States is a signed contributor to. It's a long process and it takes a long time.
And like an airline pilot, it's just you do have to go through a lot of training to handle a big machine like that.
Yes, it's a good comparison.
And I learned a lot about the merchant service in this. Let me talk about this one thing first. What made you want to write this novel?
Actually, it started over 20 years ago. I always thought I could write a book, and everybody I worked with always told me I should write a book. Of course, the book that I wrote is not the book that they wanted me to write.
What did they want you to write? They didn't want
basically a tell-all book.
Oh, okay. Nonfiction, hey?
Yeah. But I kept telling them that if I wrote the tell-all book, it would have to be in that fiction because nobody would believe it was nonfiction.
Wow. Okay. Do you have any of those stories? Or
none that's
it's not safe to say. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So this is a spy. It's got spies. It's got, the CIA and FBI. It's got the entire Homeland Security network, almost, right?
Pretty much,
And we have the Captain Kelly.
You got a couple of captains.
Right? And several seamen, and it's a suspense thriller. And it's got terrorists as well. So,
along with drug dealers, drug cartels.
And drug cartels, yeah. And it was a page turner, I found. Not for children. It's not a children's book.
No, it's definitely not a children's.
But it was a page turner. I learned a lot about the merchant service. Just talk about some of the vocabulary that you might find in there that it was new to me. I had to look up a couple of words like lightering. We have a big merchant barge, right? And it's an oil tanker.
Yes.
So what's lightering?
Well, lightering is where the barge offloads, or actually the ship offloads onto the barge to make the ship come up in its draft so that it can fit into shallower waters. So that's the lightering process.
that's something that they periodically have to do when they're coming into port. They might have to do it a couple of times, or
Oh yeah, the real deep draft ones would have to do it a couple of times. Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting process. It's a career I never, thought about at all. So this whole process in ports and so on. And you talked at one point about how busy it is with people coming off and on, officialdom coming off and on the ship when a ship comes into port. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I tried to make it as realistic as possible. I've been on the deep draft ships coming back from foreign ports, and it is very busy because you have customs coming down, you have DEA coming on with their dogs to inspect all of the berthing compartments and any other compartment that's accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your union officials coming down to talk with the captain and see the union guys that are on the boat,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And then you have your stores that you have to retake and things of that nature so you can resupply and get back out to sea. It's a busy time, and if a ship is in dock, it's not making money. The ship has to be underway to make money. So
Mm-hmm.
they try and squeeze everything in through the shortest amount of time so the ship can get back out and start making money.
All right, because they're a merchant.
Right.
And that's what that means. All right, let's move on to the title. Your title, To If by Sea, is from the Longfellow poem. And I'm just going to read that little passage from Paul Revere's Ride.
Yes.
He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. One if by land, two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be. So there's Paul Revere giving instructions. So why did you title this To If by Sea?
Well, it wasn't the British coming by sea, but it was actually the terrorists trying to come by sea.
That's right.
To attack the United States. And that just kind of rung through me. And I just wanted to kind of get that out there. I don't think there's very many people that actually remember that saying.
Well, we do here at Jazz and Poetry and Cape May Radio. Would you like to do a reading?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. And what are you going to read from your book?
I'm going to start with the beginning, the preface.
Okay.
Because that kind of sets the scene and gets people into the thought pattern as to what's going on and the history involved and where we're at. And then it leaves a question at the end so that you have to get into chapter 1 and keep going. Okay. August 7th, 2002, Delaware Bay, underway aboard the ferry MV Twin Capes. Skipper, did you watch the terrorist attacks on 9/11? And was the ferry running or shut down, being that New York's right up the road? Bubba, the helmsman, asked. Bubba stood 6'8" tall, a behemoth of a man who started working for the Cape May ferry in June 2002. Before then, he worked on tugboats and was on his way to Puerto Rico towing a container barge the day the world stopped. Out of TV range, they received information only secondhand, depending on the tug's SATCOM, along with the chatter on the VHF radio from other ships and tugs in the area for information regarding the attacks. Well, Bubba, Larry said, I was on my way home from a little sleepover, if you know what I mean. Bubba laughed. I guess the swordsman stories I hear about you are true, huh? Captain Larry just smiled. I wouldn't believe everything you hear, Bubba. I was all smiles home and listening to an oldies station on the radio when the announcer broke in to say a plane had just collided with the World Trade Center towers. That made me rush home the rest of the way and turn on the TV to see what was happening. I just made coffee and sat down to watch from my easy chair when I saw a plane enter the picture frame and smack right into the other tower. I knew it was a terrorist attack, but couldn't believe it was for real. The announcers kept trying to downplay the fact that two large modern jumbo jets didn't hit buildings within minutes of each other on a beautiful sunny day without it being on purpose. Rumors about hijackings and other planes headed for DC started airing on TV. The Pentagon was hit next. Then we heard stories about passengers calling home to tell their loved ones they were on another hijacked plane. We heard about that one going down in Pennsylvania. Was that ever a screwed up day? I didn't have a clue if we were continuing to run or not. So I got ready at the normal time and came to work. By then, all flights were grounded, which was eerie. The sky overhead was always busy, with contrails during the day and flashing beacons at night. That afternoon, it felt as if the entire world had stopped. We didn't carry much traffic, and there weren't any other ships or tugs out. The only thing moving on the Delaware was us, until I noticed a 30-footer shadowing us across the bay. That was pretty spooky, and we didn't take our eyes off of him. We were ready to call the Coast Guard if the boat came any closer than a half mile. We were on our way back home when a rubber dinghy zoomed towards us and started playing chicken with us. I called Bridges, the cop, to go down on the fantail and stay on guard. He later said all the passengers on the stern hollered for him to shoot them, like the crowds in the Bible hollering for Jesus to be sacrificed. I'm glad he didn't. We called the Coast Guard and they caught the guys in the canal down by the West Cape May Bridge. They didn't know what happened that day. They borrowed their father's boat early that morning. They were in enough trouble without old Corporal Deadeye Bridges blowing them out of the water with his 9mm. 9/11 is a day I'll remember as being one of the most bizarre days I ever had. Wow, said Bubba. I'm glad I was out to sea and all we got were bits and pieces. It got a little weird out there too. After a while, the radios were quiet and there wasn't anyone else on the radar. It seemed like we were the only ones left. I never want to feel that way again. We need a new Paul Revere to say 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, and now we need 3 if by air. What's next? 4 if by space? Yeah, Captain Larry said. What's next?
Thank you. Yeah,
Oh, you're more than welcome.
that sets the stage. And are you still a captain or are you retired yet?
Well, I'm officially retired, but they actually call me back to run captain every now and then.
That's nice. Yes, because the experienced hand we need.
Yeah.
The senior wise man has to be called in once in a while. Where can we get your book? It came out in last December.
Yeah, it was published October the 10th, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it's online basically everywhere.
Okay.
You can get it at Amazon,
Sure.
Barnes and Nobles, all of the book links you can get it from. When you type in your search, you just type in 2 If by Sea by Rick McCann, because as it was when I first started this book, there weren't any other books out there with that title. Now there's about 4 or 5 plus a movie.
2 If by Sea is being used all over? I'll look.
Yes, it is.
Wow, but none of them are based on your book. Okay. Well, it must have been in the air then.
And it's also the store in Cape May, the Cape Atlantic Book Company in the mall.
Okay.
They're going to carry it. It's over in Wildwood in Hooked on Books.
I know that one.
Okay. And I'm hoping that Mac is going to carry it in their gift shops. I haven't heard back from them, but hopefully I will.
It has local interest?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Setting in Cape May. All right. I thank you, Rick. This has been a pleasure. Good success with your book. And now I noticed a couple of things that were unfinished in your book, and I was wondering if there was going to be a sequel to answer those questions.
Oh, what did I leave unfinished?
Well, is he married or not? It didn't quite come to a conclusion whether he was still married or not. So. Okay,
you're talking about Lick.
Okay. No. That's the drug dealer, right? That's the drug dealer. I mean,
at that point in time, yes, that's a drug dealer.
Okay.
Actually, he's the drug smuggler. He didn't actually deal the drugs.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll leave it. I'll look for the sequel anyway. All right. Thank you, Rick. And
you're more than welcome.